We continue to watch this second week of COP27, the climate change conference underway in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, and anticipating an address from a high-profile world leader. We've talked a lot about the Amazon of late, the lungs of the planet, as it's known, and we were covering the elections in Brazil, which saw the return of Lula, who's made protecting the Amazon a cornerstone of his political campaign. Covering COP27 and getting set for that Lula address is our international climate correspondent, Susan Ormiston. Great to see you this morning, live there from Sharm el-Sheikh. Tell us about this address from Lula. You've been covering this issue so closely, Susan. What is he expected to say, and what is the anticipation around his participation in this climate conference?
Well, we've already seen it, Heather. There was quite a morning here. He arrived really to a hero's welcome. Hundreds of people jammed into a little Brazilian part of the pavilion where he came in, really a champion of climate change. That's what they hope that Lula is going to be. He's not officially the president yet. That comes in 6 weeks. But he was invited to come and speak here really as a symbol of change. And there are a lot of environmentalists, not just in Brazil, but all around this conference, who are hoping that Lula can carry the torch, really, for protecting the climate and protecting the Amazon. He's going to speak to a gathering tonight and also have a press conference. But he's also coming here asking for a bit of money, support, multinational support, funding his efforts to preserve and conserve the Amazon. He's got a tough road ahead because he won by the slimmest of margins, and there are still a lot of Bolsonaro supporters in the Amazon areas. He's got criminal activity burning down those rainforests, and he's going to have to restart the conservation and preservation agencies that were gutted under Bolsonaro's term. But he's really coming today with the message of Brazil is back as a champion of climate. We'll see how successful he can be in the coming months, Heather.
Susan, we are Wednesday. COP comes to its end on Friday. There are some reports I was reading this morning about tentative drafts emerging. But what are the key issues negotiators are still trying to hammer out before the conclusion of this summit?
Yeah, well, it comes to an end on Friday, maybe. I mean, that's always the way with these COP conferences. People are head down now, countries, negotiators, trying to look at the language, decide what they can agree on, Canada included, and what are their red lines and some of the contentious issues. That idea of paying poor, vulnerable countries for the impacts of extreme climate, wealthy countries coming up with some kind of funding mechanism for that. That is very controversial, and many will see if it even ends up in any kind of agreement at the end of COP. We're also looking at that target temperature, 1.5 degrees warming, whether that will be restated in this agreement, and lots of other issues about curbing emissions, methane and carbon dioxide emissions. It's a tense time now. You don't see it in the courtyards here, but people are really trying to define that language and come to a consensus so that this two-week conference has some impact in the year ahead.
Susan Ormiston, our international climate correspondent. I appreciate the reporting live there from Sharm el-Sheikh and COP27.